Everyone, welcome to Microsoft Excel Basics Introduction. In this tutorial we are going to cover about the following agendas of our training today. So we'll start by introducing Microsoft Excel, download and launch Microsoft Excel. From there now is when we'll be going to look at how to insert multiple rows and columns, how to make use of Autofill in Microsoft Excel, how to carry out filtering and sorting, how to identify if your data is containing duplicates and how you can remove them, how to split your text or column into multiple columns based on a separating delimiter, which we call text to column. Then we have a paste special option where we'll be going to look at how to transpose your data from rows to columns, and then from there we're going to look at format painter. So having introduced you to our agendas and objectives of today, let me now get to our objective today. So this is the data we're going to use. This data is concerning hotel that is having several branches around the region. So we can see we have here different countries and different products that are being offered in different country hotels branches, and their respective units sold for each product, their revenue, the cost, the profit, and the date when they were sold. So we are going to use this as our sample data for our training here today. So let's start by introducing what Microsoft Excel is. As you can see, it's made up of rows and columns which form a spreadsheet where you can carry your data entry, data management, data analysis, and even visualization. By visualization I mean presenting powerful graphs and charts that help describe data better compared to having the data in numeric or in character or string form. So having said that, let's start by how we can insert multiple rows and columns in Excel. For you to do that, you have to go to where you want to insert your rows. For example, my row number 9, so I want to insert 5 rows, let's say. So I'll have to select from 9 to 14. So I hold shift, then tap 14. Then from there now I can right click, then I click insert. It will insert the new rows that I want. Suppose I want also to insert 3 columns, I just do the same thing. I select my first column, hold shift, then click my third column. So the number of columns you want to insert is the number of columns you highlight. Then you right click, then click insert. So it will also definitely insert for you the new columns. So that is the first case that we are supposed to cover. So having covered that, we can now proceed to how to make use of the autofill in Microsoft Excel. So for example, I have here my data. Let me take here this column, this the first row, which covers about what our data is all about. So I want to insert here. So country, let me say Kenya. The product, maybe I can say laptop, something like that. And then the unit sold. These are the number of laptops that you've sold. Let me say that I have 20. So the revenue I had made out of selling the 20 laptops, let me say maybe each laptop was costing around 30,000. So this one can give me the 600,000. So then the cost that I bought the laptops, let me say I bought each laptop at a cost of 25,000, which gives me 500,000. as my cost. Now the profit is the difference between the cost and revenue, which now gives me, that is 100,000 as my profit. And the date for making these sales is 27th of June 2023. So suppose I want to reduplicate whatever I have here in my rows below. So that is what we call the autofill. So you have to raise your cursor at the bottom right corner, then you drag. So that is how autofill works. So you can do for all the rows, for all the columns, that is, I mean, to carry out or to fill the sense of autofill. So that is what we mean by autofill. Yeah, so having discussed that, we can now proceed to our next agenda, which is about filtering, how to carry out filtering. So for you to carry out filtering in Microsoft Excel, you have first of all have to go to the data tab. Under data tab, you can now click on filter. It will now bring the filter button on the top of each column that is having data in it. So to correctly filter your data, maybe based on the country, for example, filter means you want to just have a look on a few rows following a certain criteria or condition. For example, when I want to see all the sales that I've made from the country known as United Kingdom, then I will not be having interest in India. So that is how filter helps us. So you uncheck India and you uncheck Malaysia, Philippines, and remain with the United Kingdom. So when you click OK, it will have now filtered your data. You can now be able to see only rows containing entries from the United Kingdom. You can even proceed again with filtering even in the products. You can only just see product that you want. For example, here I have the chocolate chip and the fortune cookies. So maybe I want to just see the fortune cookies, so I will have to uncheck the chocolate chip and remain with the fortune cookies. So that is how filtering works. Yes, for you to unfilter and remove everything, take your data to your default, you just have to click the button and now click clear filter. It will be able to bring everything back. Again, here also you have to clear filter for you to be able to recover your data. It has not been lost, your data is just there. So how is let's look at sorting. So how is sorting different from filtering? So in sorting, maybe you want to arrange your data based on from the highest to the smallest, or from the alphabetic order. For example, the countries, when I want to do that, so first of all I'll have to go to the data, then ask for sort. So sort A to Z, that is my column. I want to sort my data from A to Z, so I will use that critique to do that. So under data, you go to sort, then you do that. So when I want to sort also my data, maybe based on the revenue, from the highest, or from the highest to the smallest, I just go to sort, then I will say A to Z to be able to filter my data based on revenue, and not now based on the previous selection that was on alphabetic order. Then from there, now we may look at how to detect duplicates in your data. So let me, for example, take here some sample data, then introduce some duplicates in it, then try to fill the essence of duplicates. Let me just say, take a few observations here. So I take that data, paste it here, then I'll reduplicate some few entries. Let me duplicate row 4 and row 5, row 4 and row 5. So I've duplicated those rows. So duplicates simply means that the case of unique cases are not encountered, so the observations are not distinct. That means there is a repetition that's existing within your data. So you need to have a sense on how you can be able to detect that. So you can even make use of the conditional formatting. How you work with conditional formatting, to be able first of all to highlight your data. So you just go to home, then you go to conditional formatting, you go to highlight cells rules, then you go to duplicate values. Then now from there you can now select the color that you want to apply to the duplicate cases. So let me first of all highlight my data where I want to observe or check for duplicates. So for my case, I will highlight the entire rows, the entire data, then go to home, conditional formatting, then highlight cell rules, duplicate values. As you can see, the duplicate values have been highlighted. So you can see that the two rows that I duplicated are fully highlighted. So that's how we check for duplicates. And now how do we go about it? How to remove now the duplicates? So first of all, you also have to highlight your data. To only remove duplicate means that you will only remain with the unique cases in your data. So this is just a sample data where we just wanted to see how you do that. So you go to data tab, you go to remove duplicates. You will be able to remove under the data tool tabs. You remove duplicates, be able to remain with the only unique cases as shown below, and you will be notified that only 2 duplicate values found and removed, so 6 unique values remaining. So you click OK, and that is done. Something else on split. How do you split? For example, now I am having here my data. This data is containing full name, email address, something like that. So how do we separate this full name to first name and last name, for example? So for us to go about that, let me just introduce here some few rows, few empty columns where we can be able to have our first name and last name. So I right click insert. I'll have introduced here my empty rows, my empty columns. So I call this one first name, then I call this second name. So from there, come here, I want to text to column. So that is under data tab. You now go to text to column. So you highlight your data, then text to column. Let me highlight my data where I want to apply that. Home. So under data tab we have said, so you go to text to column. So text to column will ask you the kind of delimiter that the data is delimited. That means it has been separated by either tab, comma, space, semicolon, or other. So for my case, it has been separated by space in this case. And you can even preview how your data will be looking like. So I can now go to next and just finish. So I will have separated my first name here, my last name here. So my first name is here. So my last name is just second name. This second name. So, or you may sometimes call it the last name. Then you can have your first name where you had your full name. Or sometimes if you want to keep your full name as well, you can also do that. Or sometimes you also have an option of concatenating the first name and the last name to give you the full name as well. So you may also want to join this. So you can use the concatenate formula. So you'll say concatenate. You open. You select your first information. You separate by the opening speech marks and the double quotes, that is. So we leave it blank to enable having space in between your first name and your last name. Then from there you can hit enter, then use the autofill, which we've learned how to do that. So you can now autofill to the bottom. So this one was being separated by a delimiter space, so you can also do that to data that is being separated by a comma. So the same approach you used, you can also apply here. So you highlight your data, you go to data tab, then you go to text to column. In this case, now the delimiter will be comma and not space. Then now you click next, then you click finish. Sometimes you may prefer to mention the destination, so that at least you may easily put the correct entries whenever they are required to start from. For example, you want to maintain full name and first name, last name. So as you have seen, now I have decided to change my destination in this case to G2 instead of F2. So I click finish, and now there we go. I now have my first name here and my last name here. Yes, so that is the split that we have. So have paste special. So paste special, what it does is transposing these rows into columns and columns into rows. So I highlight my data, I copy, then I go where I want to paste my data, right click, then go to paste special. So under paste special option, you now select transpose. You check the transpose box, then you just click OK. It will be able to transpose your data into the format that you want. So converting from rows to columns, and there you go. Then finally you can also look at format painter. So how does that apply? For example, you can see my entries here. We are having, let me just copy this. This is money, the currency. So the currency I have here, I must have consistency in my data. For example, when I'm talking about this currency, so maybe I make another entry that is 3,000. So I want this 3,000 to follow the format that is the other entries are following for data consistency. So I just go to home, then format painter, I copy that, then I paste to the cell where I want to apply that condition, and you can see there you go. That's how format painter works. Thank you so much for having been patient following along this Microsoft Excel basics, and I wish to request you to follow on more videos that will be coming in the next videos. Thank you so much for your time.